Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Show Thyself a Man. I am your host, Amiri Israel, and I have a very, now I say this all the time. I always say I have a very special guest, but this brother is near dear to my heart. He definitely moved me from an incredible speech he made at an event we had in New York at the Dadpreneurs event. Shout out to Dope Dads. Um, Yeah, shout out to Sean Williams, Dope Dads, all the brothers that, being dope dads. But very powerful motivational speaker and mentor. And I would definitely like you, dear brother, to introduce yourself and, give us a little bit of your background.
All right. Well, brother, first of all, again, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be on your platform, man. The work that you're doing is amazing. You're inspiring, and the information that you have going out on this platform is certainly transforming the lives that you don't even see being touched. So I want to thank you, for your audience. My name is Sherman Browne. Great things that, my brother said about me, but the reality is I always like to look at myself personally as just being simply a husband, a father, a brother, an uncle, a father, right? Like these are the roles that I play in my life. And I try to do it as humbly as I can. But every time I get the opportunity to teach, to inspire, to offer hope, or to empower people to reach their greatest potential, I believe that it's not a job that I get paid for, but really a calling that I was made for. So my background, me, Sherman Browne, founder of what's called AIMHigh International, and by extension, the AIMHigh Empowerment Institute, which is really personal development, professional development, academic enrichment, and social contribution. That's what the entire program is about, really focusing on helping people to find and to refine their MAPS, M-A-P-P-S, their mental, academic, personal, professional, and the social outcomes. And the reason I came up with this was because, growing up in a small place called the U.S. Virgin Islands, many people don't know about the Virgin Islands. And most of the time when they try to describe it, they say it's nearby Puerto Rico, but the Virgin Islands is the Virgin Islands, a beautiful place. And if you've never visited, let me give it a plug right now. You want to get there. But growing up in the islands, grew up under some very humble conditions. We didn't have much. We were poor, but we didn't know we were poor. As a matter of fact, my mother never talked to me about poverty. She always talked to me about where we were going to be. So she said it like this. She said, your situation is only transportation to your destination.
Yes,
and
sir.
Those words stuck with me as a young man growing up in the islands, who at first just wanted to be a dancehall reggae artist. So people say motivational speaker now, they see the inspiration now, but really I was supposed to be the greatest dancehall reggae artist alive with Beanie Man and the rest of them,
You have the energy, that's for sure.
Definitely, and it didn't go that way. But what changed in my life is when I moved to New York, coming up here with that inspiration, right? With that hope and that aspiration to possibly go that route. But I moved to an area of the Bronx that was then and still is today the poorest congressional district in the United States. So not having much in the islands, I knew we didn't have much, but when I got up to New York, being broke in New York is different than being broke in the islands. And I started to recognize, being in the poorest congressional district, that, there were a lot of things that were lacking in the community. And for me, life no longer became about this journey just to find a way to make more money. It was about how do we uplift and enrich and impact our people by educating them, by engaging them, by empowering them to reach their greatest potential. And that's what really changed my path. I studied business when I was in school. I then did my master's in public administration. But at that point in my time in my life, I felt this calling that, you know what, there's so much that people don't know, and we have to be able to connect them with those resources. So AIMHigh has grown to being a small organization that was empowering just a couple young men to now empowering over 435 students all throughout New York City. We just expanded to the U.S. Virgin Islands, where I'm from originally, and also we're going into Jamaica starting in September. But that's really the journey, right? It started from trying to be this dancehall reggae artist from humble beginnings to now empowering thousands through the work that we do, and empowering others so that they can empower others and continue the journey. So that's just a little background about me and who I am. And certainly thankful to God as a God-fearing man to be here and to be able to share that today.
Man, that is wonderful. That is wonderful. That is good as gold, man. And it's definitely an inspiring journey. Most of the brothers that I have on here have a story to tell, and this is one of the reasons why I do it, for us as men to tell our stories and to, allow the world to know we're not all out here just wilding out, doing nothing. We have dreams, purposes, missions, goals, and we getting them done as fathers and husbands. So definitely appreciate that, brother. Uh,
Absolutely.
Now for so those of you all that have been following this show so far know what's coming. Now, this is what we like to say when we start off conversations. We like to say this is the icebreaker. But what I call this question is the glacier breaker. So it's
Ah,
right to the point. We tearing it down right out the bat. And that question is, how do you define manhood?
yeah. Very powerful question. One that I think sometimes we simplify too much,
Yeah,
but it's so much, right? And when I think about manhood, I think about power, I think about courage, I think about influence, I think about bravery,
mhm,
but all of that under humility and being able to empathize. A man is someone, and manhood is about being responsible, responsible for those who you care for and those around you, but even those who are going to come after you. Being reliable, somebody who could keep your word and who is steady in that. Being, a man and manhood is not about just resources, but about resourcefulness. How
yeah,
resourceful you are, right? And as a man, can you stretch things? Could you help to inspire and to expand on what you have? So being resourceful. So I think, all of these different attributes that we talk about, courage, being powerful, being humble, but also having vision and having direction. But knowing that everything that you do because of the passion for the vision and not public recognition. It's
yeah,
not about being recognized for what you do, but doing what you need to do, recognizing that it's a calling upon your life and you are called to serve,
yeah,
right? And manhood is about servanthood. So yeah, all those things. And I think, where that foundation starts from is what you do as it relates to your faith. But then secondly, what you do with your family. And
yeah,
those things I think are ultimately important, to a man and just the whole concept of manhood.
yeah, yeah. So what would you say about purpose? Is it important for a man to have purpose or goal-driven life?
Absolutely, 100%. As a matter of fact, so I wrote a book called Overcoming Dreamicide, and it's really about the mindset, the methods, and the metrics to execute your goals and keep your dreams alive. And when I talk about it, I give a lot of my story, but within there, there's a part of the book where I talk about the F7, the 7 foundational pillars of our existence, and we name them faith, family, fitness, finances, fun, friends, and then the last one is fulfillment. Because everything that we do, right, is for purpose, right? I think we are all born with purpose. We all have purpose to serve. But purpose is within the construct of all the things that we do. We have a purpose as it relates to our faith, right? And how we, express and expand our faith and demonstrate our faith through our actions, right? We
Right.
have a purpose as it relates to the family. A lot of times people focus on the, protect, provide,
Yeah, yeah,
and those things are important, right? But the purpose goes bigger than that, right? In terms of what legacy we allow to carry down, right? We have a purpose as it relates to our fitness and how we take care of our bodies and what we do with our body on a regular basis. And when it comes to money and how we expand money and how we not just make money, but how we manage it and then multiply it in a purposeful way.
yeah,
And then after you deal with finances, you got to deal with the fun and how you enjoy yourself with the people that you care about, the friends that you keep, the surroundings of the people that you have, and all of that leads to a more fulfilled life. So I believe that we were born, right, to be fulfilled and to be, to bring fulfillment to the world.
yes,
So
sir.
certainly purpose is at the apex of all of those things.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so I remember hearing a speech you made about you were near dear to your grandmother, if I'm not.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And so you shared the story, and I'll let you get into it a little bit. I don't want to butcher it, but I know I remember it with my heart. It was making reference to her on her deathbed and how she, you know, wished she'd have lived more on her deathbed, and
Yeah.
it kind of made something. So if you could make something click for you, if you could you share that with us?
Yeah. So my grandmother, and let me just put her name out there, Jennifer Stanley, is a powerful woman, Caribbean woman. Much love to her. Rest in peace to her. But that's why I moved when I moved to New York City. So when I came up here and I was aspiring to do all of these things, she was the one who took me in, and she said, "Hey, you could come stay with me for a while you try to get up on your feet." Now the reality is, when I came up here, I just told her that I wanted to make a better life for myself, to leave the islands. And when I got up here, she said, "What are you going to do?" And I'm like, "Grandma, don't worry, your boy do dance all reggae. We keep it geeky on stage, right?" And my grandmother looked at me and she said, "Look, if you're going to live here, it's one or two things you're going to do. Either you go to work, right, and get money, bring it to the household, or you go to school." And she said, "I would highly prefer if you go to school." And she was the one that told me that she thought that education will be the preparation to help me to elevate my life. And at the time, I didn't really want to hear it, right? But nonetheless, I was grateful for the fact that she allowed me to be there. So I said, if I'm going to stay in her household, I got to follow her rules. And that's what actually made me go to college. And during the time when my grandmother, when I was living with her, she actually worked as a home health aide, and she had done that for decades. She was doing that. The thing is, my grandmother was doing everything in her power to make an honest living, but deep down inside, I felt she wasn't honestly living. I'll say that again, right? Like, she was making an honest living. She was doing what she needed to do to make a living, but I don't feel she was honestly living. And the reason why I say that is because every day she would come home and she would talk about the job. She would complain about what was going on there. She would talk about the fact that she just didn't like, the environment. But what happened is, she did it because she needed to provide for her family. But here's what happened. It wasn't until October 25th, 2011, I went to Mount Sinai Hospital in the Bronx, New York. In Manhattan, in New York. And when I went to Mount Sinai Hospital, my grandmother was there. And they had already told us before that my grandmother might not have much time to live, because she had cirrhosis of the liver. Now, usually that's a condition that you get, if you drink a lot of alcohol, but she didn't drink. So no one up to this day knew how she got cirrhosis of the liver. And when I was there in the hospital talking with her, the thing that hurt me the most was that she kept on talking about all the things she could have done, should have done, and would have done if she had more time. That's all she spoke about. All the things she could have, should have, and would have done if she had more time. And when she died on that day, October 25th, 2011, it was hurtful to my soul, because I recognized, and I learned this incredible lesson from my grandmother, that most people won't try to live until they're about to die. Every chance they get up, every opportunity they get, they could go out there and do what they need to do, right? They could go out there and pursue purpose. But so often, right, they put it off for when I get this, when I get things in order, when the perfect timing comes. So when my grandmother passed away on that day, learning that lesson from her, that's what actually sparked purpose into me. Because this was a woman who I cared about so much, who I cared for so deeply. And while I was mourning her death, at the same time, I didn't want her life to be without purpose. And and she played a role. She played a purposeful role in our lives, right? It's just that she neglected some of the things that in her heart she wanted to do. So I said, then I'm going to make it my life mission to keep her alive. And I keep her alive through the inspiration that I give. Her death is what gave birth to my purpose. And a lot of times people don't get that, right? Like, her death gave birth to my purpose, because at the time when she died, it came to me that, you know what? You have to go on this mission to encourage all who are living, who are on the land of the living right now, and who's alive, that while you have the moment, take advantage of the moment, right? To live the life that you want to live, to pursue the purpose, to pursue the goals. And yes, we need to make money. And yes, we need to make a living. But it makes no sense, and there's no value in making an honest living only to find out in the end that you weren't honestly living.
Wow.
So she gave me that purpose, man. And from since then, I started Aim High as a result of her death. And the entire focus and mission of Aim High when I first started was just to inspire people to keep their ambition, inspiration, and motivation high. And that's what it started from. It was the spark that ignited the fire. So I often say that the death of my grandmother gave me purpose. And in that case, I think her purpose was served right here on earth.
Wow. So I get chills every time I hear it, like as if it's the first time I heard it. But the first time I heard it was at that event and with the
Dad gang. Yep.
Yeah, man. I was speechless. I was like, wow, that's very impactful. That is very heavy and impactful. So I salute your journey, man. I salute you sharing that with us, not only here on this show, but every chance that you get, every time when time permits, I appreciate you sharing that story, man.
For sure, definitely.
So would you say your grandfather, I mean your grandmother, excuse me, had the most impact on your life growing up, or was it?
So yeah, I would say there was a number of people, right? You know, and I start with my mother, right? Because my mother actually came from my grandmother, right? And my mother had such a profound impact because my mother was able to allow me to have a vision beyond sight. And when I say a vision beyond sight, meaning to see beyond what was directly in front of me, right? As I said, my mother said that the situation was only transportation to the destination. And I didn't know what it meant when I was young, right? All I knew at that point in time was that she was giving me this vision that everything you're going to go through, right? Everything that's going to happen in your life is actually going to play a role in getting you to where you need to be. So my mother played a tremendous role in terms of painting that vision, right? But then my grandmother also played a role in terms of having such an impact in helping me to understand what it means and what it takes to be resourceful. Remember, as a home health aide, right, she wasn't making that much money, right? But every member of my family, right, who came to the United States went through that same tunnel going to my grandmother before they were able to extend out. And in that case, she showed me, right, that even if she didn't have much, the little that she had, she was able to figure out how to make it stretch and how to expand it. So when I see my cousins in Massachusetts, and I got uncles in Houston and family members in Canada and different places, all doing great things, I know that we came through the same roots, right? And many of us stopped by my grandmother first. So my mother allowed me to have the vision beyond sight. And then my grandmother taught me how to take the vision and to stretch the vision by being resourceful, not having everything together, but knowing that you could be a vehicle to help people get to their destination. And she helped a lot of us get to where we are today, you know, and those were the two most powerful influences. But then there's a lot of people who came around as well, right, throughout my life who taught me some important lessons. I always give credit to a gentleman by the name of Taloki Depu. He was actually my mentor when I went to college. And the only reason he picked up to connect with me was because he heard me speaking and he heard the accent. And he just happened to be from the islands as well. So when he connected with me, he said to me, he said, "Young man, what are you doing here?" I'm like, "What do you mean, what am I doing?" I said, I'm here in school. He said, "No, but what are you studying in school?" I said, "I'm studying business." And he said, "You're studying business." He said, but you don't look like business. You don't talk like business. You don't act like business." And I said, "What are you talking about?" He says, "The only thing I see you doing every time I see you at this college is making a whole bunch of noise in the hallways. And it seems like you're popular, but you don't seem like you're operating with purpose." And I would say, like, "What do you mean?" He said, "If you have a purpose of why you're here, you need to be willing to listen. You need to be willing to learn." And he said, "I'll be willing to take you under my wing because I could tell you my journey coming from the islands." He came from Guyana, and how he went from poverty to prosperity. And I would go by this guy's office every week, every Friday. And my brother, when I would sit with him in the office, the only reason I would be there is because he had the greatest M&Ms. And when I talk about M&Ms, most people laugh. Most people think about the bite-sized candy. But what he had there for me that was very impactful is he had the methods that worked for him that allowed him to become successful. But he also shared with me the mistakes I needed to avoid.
Come on.
Those M&Ms were sweet, the methods and the mistake. And I'm telling you, it was such a game changer in my life. So he was able to give me business direction. He was able to tell me about how to move, financially and make different decisions that would be aligned with the purpose of why I was in school. And that played a tremendous role in my life. And then lastly, I can't forget my father, because while my father for a long period of time was not physically there in my life because he was in the United States while we were growing up in the islands, my father said one thing to me that always stuck with me, right? He said, "It's better for you to have it and not need it than to need it and don't have it." Yeah. And that's what pushed me to always try to make sure that I acquired the skills, right? Whatever it is that I needed. And even if I didn't think I needed it for the moment, it's never a bad thing to have those things. And then he would say to me, never to give up, right? So while he wasn't physically there for me, he was there to give me that encouragement, and that little bit that he gave me, I was able to take a far way.
So man, every man deserves a mentor. Every person, we generally speaking, but as far as the show's purposes, man, I mean, because we're dealing with a lot of fatherless sons around, and but just like your mother said, it's everything happens, in its proper time, and it gets you to your destination. And we can't be discouraged about not having fathers around, or any male mentors. We say only a man can make a man, and which is true in some parts, but I always appreciate brothers that when I get to the influential part of the question, when they mention their mothers or their grandmothers,
Yeah,
that life, the lessons from life that taught them can teach anybody. Here, and
absolutely.
when grandmother were being resourceful, and moms would having vision, that is two of the, and we discussed this already, that is two of the key components to manhood. So,
Absolutely.
I always love when brothers don't shy away from sharing, how their mothers are, the females in their life were influential. So
Yeah,
just
yeah. I
valid.
mean, and brother, I see this as, we're co-partners in this, right? Like when
Right,
you look
right.
at us going through life, right? Like the man and the woman together are partners in this journey of life. And everyone, as you talk about purpose earlier, every person has a purpose, right? And I believe men and women have particular purposes that they serve. And they wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here if that were not the case. So I
Yeah,
think the
yeah,
difference is are made to make us a more perfect union per se, right? To make us
yeah.
more perfect in what we do, and as we grow and as we get better. So certainly the women play a tremendous role, but men do as well. And like you said earlier, I truly believe that same concept as well, right? That every man should have access to a mentor,
Oh yes,
right?
sir.
And when we started Aim High, that was the primary purpose, right? Like we wanted to give everybody access to someone that they could connect to, who they could
Yeah,
talk to, because to Loki the Pooh, it was just by chance,
yeah,
right? He heard my accent, he gravitated towards me and he reached out and then we connected. I believe it should be by choice. Every young man should be chosen, because that's how I felt when I met this guy, that I was
yeah,
chosen by
yeah,
him for
yeah,
him to connect
yeah,
with me,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's so to reference the book, King Warrior Magician Lover, is that there's a part of the book where it mentions that boys or young men need consent from the king. We need to be affirmed by some, and a message came right before you came on the screen. It was clear as day. Every master has a master. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that, like, even when we talk about Jesus Christ, I mean, we know who his mentor is, so
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah.
that. Every master has a master. So yeah, and I tilt my hat to everything you have going on over there at Aim High, man. And that's a big service. I know they have some important brothers coming out of that program, man. Matter of fact, I want to make a shout out to one guy, one fellow in particular that I met at the Dad Gang event. Nick Santiago. Shout out to Nick Santiago.
Yeah, yeah,
That,
yeah.
that young
Yeah,
man is gonna be a force to be reckoned with. And
absolutely.
yeah, and
Yeah,
so
yeah. He's doing his thing in college right now. He's in college right now. He's
yeah,
studying media, and when he came to that event that night, the same Dad Gang event, he was exposed there, but
yeah,
Nakai is making moves. He had his own podcast that he
yeah,
was running
yeah,
and everything. But a lot of what he took from Aim High, I remember when he first came to me and he said he wanted to start this podcast, but he was trying to get the all the materials and the tools he needed to be able to do it. And I was like, bro, you're right here. You're with me.
right,
We'll get that, and we got that together. And man, he just has shot off. And his perspective is just so profound. But again, the willingness to be mentored, to take guidance, right, to ask questions. He recognized that as a man, right, it's powerful for him to be able to ask, actively seek knowledge, right? And that's by talking to other men, to other people that he could meet to help him to do that. But yeah, thank you for shouting him out, man. The guy
yeah, yeah,
Santiago definitely
yeah.
changing the game right now.
Yeah, well, just wanted to shout him out and let you know that I'm paying attention what you got going on over
For sure, for sure, for
there.
sure. Yep, yep. I'm gonna make sure that he sees this too.
Yeah, and once we start the sharing, and I'll make sure I tag him up if he's still on. But yeah, man, yeah, most
Yeah.
certainly. So we mentioned about the partnership between men and women. Are you married? Well, I see
Yes, yes,
you
yes.
have the ring shining in
Oh yeah, 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 for sure, for sure. Yeah, yeah, man. Actually, so my wife and I this year just made 11 years married. So yeah, and it's been a journey. It's been a journey. It's a process. We
yeah,
learn each other, but I could tell you a lot, even like, for example, even starting AIMHigh. I was a professor for a while. I was teaching at the college. I was teaching in 2 departments, in the business and in criminal justice. Like I said, I studied public administration and I worked in government for a number of years around the policy making end. And when I was, when my grandmother passed away, and later on, as we were, we started AIMHigh, we were doing different things in 2017. I remember it because I was in the gym and I was working out. And while I was in the gym working out, this song came on. It's by an artist named Sinak. She's actually an African artist, but the song goes, Waymaker, Miracle Worker, Promise Keeper, Light in the Darkness. That's who you are, right? And it's a Christian song. And usually when I'm working out, I'm listening to something more upbeat, right? But the song comes on, I listen to it, and I'm like, hold on, let me just let this sink in while I'm on the treadmill. And I listen to the words, and I remember it just hit me like, yo, you know what? You have this AIMHigh program, and the world needs it. And what you're doing right now is you have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You're teaching and you're doing that at the college and that's cool, but you're doing it for the job that you get paid for. You're not answering this calling that you were made for. So at that point in time, I picked up the phone. And before I even went upstairs, I called the dean of the department that I was working for. And I said, ma'am, I know school starts back in 2 weeks, but you got to take me off the roster. And she said, what do you mean take you off the roster? I said, you got to take me off. I can't stay on. I got to step out. She said, do you have something else? I said, I don't have nothing else fully lined up yet. I've been doing AIMHigh for a little while, but I haven't gone fully into it yet. And this is a move I have to make. And I went ahead and I hung up the phone. And it was the most nerve-wracking walk because I had to go upstairs to go let my wife know, hey, I just dropped this job, you know what I mean, that that we were steady on and everything. And when I went up to her and I told her, she said, yeah, let's go.
Come on.
Let's go. And let me tell you something, that confidence, right, that you get from a woman, right? Like when she's down for it, man, she was like, let's go. Like, we're doing this, right? You've been called for this. We've been called for this together in this journey. Let's figure it out, whatever it is. And we both are going to jump and then build our wings on the way down. That's what it's going to be about. And let me tell you something, that has been so instrumental in my life, in my journey, in the decisions that we make. We make them with confidence and with Godfidence, right? Knowing that God is in the middle of every decision that we make, and he's brought us together so that we could hold each other up. And again, like I said, it's been rocky, right? We've had situations in our life, with our children and everything, and things that we have going on that we've had to hold up each other. And sometimes she's holding me up, sometimes I'm holding her up, and then sometimes we're just holding each other and going through the process. But having her as a partner, and as a wife has been, I would say game-changing, life-transforming, and certainly keeping me on the path towards where God wants us to go.
Oh man, that's beautiful. Beautiful. So we're going on. It'll be 10 for us this year as well. But
congratulations, man, hitting that decade,
Yeah, man. And that's a part of the journey. Now, I truly believe now, society has kind of made it to where a man should just the trophy for a man is to get married and work and provide for the family. But we don't get Super Bowl trophies, NBA championship trophies without training, right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
it's a lot of us that are just they give us the shiny, this is the shiny reward. You just you stay alive and you get married. But it's a whole lot of things that we have to learn as men before we even think about a woman or think about, taking a woman's hand, because it's a large responsibility.
Yes.
And we're not going to even mention if we get, kids involved. So I that this is one of the reasons why I also started this show, is to kind of have a blueprint, or reference for younger brothers, even older brothers, to hear from different men about their perspectives on manhood and marriage and fatherhood, and it may be something in these videos that brother's dealing with that you could get it, okay, well, maybe I should approach things this way or differently. So, but marriage, and that was very, very big, because I know that there are brothers that are scared to jump on the strength of what their wives may say, or you know, anybody, but since we're on the topic of
Yeah,
marriage,
yeah.
wives may say or how they may feel, but this is proof that it could go differently from what you're scared of. So, you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just show that passion. A woman gonna already pick up on what you're passionate about, and kind of see the vision for you, you know, and enhance it as well. So yeah, that was
Absolutely. I heard Bishop T.D. Jakes said something which was so powerful, right? And he was like, you know, if you at least have direction, you could starve distraction, right? And that's what happens when you're in a relationship, right? Like especially for you know, for men who may not be married yet, right? Or might be worried about that. You know, I think a woman wants to see that you have a clear direction, right?
yeah,
Look, we didn't know exactly how we were going to get there, but we know exactly where we're going, right?
yeah,
And so when I was able to let her know, like, hey, you know what, this is the move, right? This is the move, and she was able to catch on to that vision easily, and then help, right, to look right on the road, on the journey, to see, hey, what turns we need to take, what turns we might need to avoid. You know, men usually like to try to get to the destination without a map, and the woman is very detail oriented. Is, hold on, let's look at the map, right? I know we know that you have an idea of where you want to go, but let's look at the map.
right,
So that vision from the man, knowing the destination, and then the detail orientation of the woman who says, I will help you to get there on the map, works together synergistically and powerfully to help us to get to where we need to get to together. So yes, sometimes, you know, we're afraid about what's going to be said. But I always believe if you say things with competence, right, with confidence, and
yeah,
with true character, it's
yeah,
something that a woman could embrace, right? Competent to show that you know about yourself and know where you're trying to go. Confidence in your ability to be able to get there and to bring her along in that journey, to be there side by side. And then the character to operate with authenticity and with truth, right? So that every step of the way, right, it doesn't matter what the outcome is. I never lied to you, right? I told you what I was pursuing, and it may not have worked out the perfect way, but progress beats perfection any day of the week. And that's what they want to know, is that we're going to help them to make progress. That's what we live for, and that's what we're here for.
yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So your father too as well, right?
Yep. So I have a 7-year-old, and she's 6 months now, right? So
Okay,
during the pandemic,
congratulations.
we had a pandemic baby,
Yeah, yeah.
and yeah, man, she's 6 months. Soleil and Sohaili, two beautiful daughters of mine, who I love dearly, and who just remind me every day of purpose, right? We're Aim High family. So
Yeah.
Soleil means sunshine in French, and Sohaili is brightest star. So we're all in the sky, you know, aiming high together.
Oh man, that is beautiful. I actually have four myself, but it's that. So quick story, my son taught me two things that I'm very proud to say. My 11-year-old son taught me. He actually taught me how to swim, and
Wow.
he taught me how to play chess. And I was like, yo, so there's not to shy away from what we spoke about on marriage, but the journey in fatherhood as well is a very important thing to pay attention to. Is that we can actually learn from our kids once we give them the opportunity to teach. You know, we don't give our children a lot, you know, the opportunity to teach us most times.
Yeah, yeah.
Ego,
Yeah.
you
And look,
know.
and that's really to our detriment, right? Because there's
Yeah,
so much to learn, right? There's so much to learn from the fearlessness of our
yeah,
children,
yeah,
right? And they might be afraid of things, and they say, yeah, I'm afraid of monsters, I'm afraid of the dark, or any of those things. But here's the one thing they're not afraid to do is to try,
yeah,
right? And they're not afraid to forgive.
yeah,
They're not afraid to
yeah,
forgive.
yeah,
You know, there's times where I have to discipline my daughter, right? And I could discipline my daughter right now and say, hey, look, you know what? I'm gonna have to cut you off on this for a little while, or whatever the case may be. But you know, within a minute, right? We're back. She's back. It's not okay, I'm gonna hold this against you, I'm gonna
yeah,
hold this grudge against you, you know, and our children are able to teach us things because they're so pure,
yeah,
right? They're not contaminated with the experiences that we have. And
yeah,
our experiences sometimes make us, you know, judgmental. Sometimes our experiences make us, not do certain things or hold back from doing things. And children a lot of times don't have those experiences, so they could teach us how to be more brave, how to be more courageous, how to forgive, right? How to let go, and how to, you know, just focus on enjoying, right, the process. I was
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
week they had some time off from school. She had some time off from school this week, my 7-year-old. And, you know, we took some time, we went to this thing called iFly, where it's like a skydiving, indoor skydiving. You know, we went there and she did it. And she was like, look, I want to try. And when she got there, she was fearful. And I was able to look at her in the eye and say, hey, you know what? We could do this. Don't worry, we're here and we're together in this. And just watching her say to me, you know what, Daddy, like you're here, let's go. We could do it. Right. And that was great. And then we went to the circus yesterday. So these experiences and just watching her be amazed by what she was seeing and just being willing to say every time she saw something, I want to do that, or I could do that. You know, that courage that she has right now, it emboldens me, and it makes me say, hey, you know what? Don't even hold back. If she has the courage to do it, especially as a man, I want to lead by example, right?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times they don't do what you say, they do what you do.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, man, so much to learn.
Yes, sir. Yeah, because when he taught me chess, I was like, what the hell am I doing with my life as an adult? You know, because it's full as a strategy, man. And I was proud. I was proud to know that he's really good at it. So I was like, man, you know, just you could keep beating up on me, man. I'm learning and you getting better. So let's go.
Yeah. You know, just one more thing about that, because again, you don't recognize that like your children play a purpose in your purpose as well, right? You know, we've been running Aim High. We started off working with college students, then we went to high schools, middle schools, elementary, and we just started working with preschool students. And what many people don't know is that they'll be impressed by what we do on the elementary level, you know, with the students, but they don't know so much of what we do with them is the things I get from my daughter. Like even when I'm thinking about what type of music to engage the students with, it's my daughter who tells me these things, and I'm using it there. So when they're impressed by it, I'm like, you don't even know that's a 7-year-old, right? Who's also in elementary, who put me on to this is the way to do these things. And that's how we were able to engage, you know, the younger folks with a lot of what she does and what she provides to us.
Yeah. And you know, that's wonderful, man. We're learning every day from our kids, because especially in the line of work we're in, you know, I mean, brothers confide in me a lot. Like, what, you know, being that I have 4 kids, you know, something about fatherhood, you know, something.
Yeah, for sure.
And I only can know about parenting from them being my children, you know, when I discipline them, or when I, you know, just like you said, it's all organic, man. They need discipline. So in return, they're going to forgive us. It's kind of like, thank you for disciplining me. Yeah, I'm not going to hold against something I need. So yeah, man. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. So shout out to the 7-year-old baby girl.
Yes.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on accountability as men, like brotherhood or even community as men?
Yeah. So I think accountability is so important, right? Because, you know, oftentimes, right, you surround yourself with yourself, right? And you know, and when I say that, it just means that you surround yourself with the people who are thinking the same way as you most of the time. And if you're gonna surround, like the saying goes, right? They say that your income over your lifetime will be the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. They did this study and that's what they recognize, right? And if you think about it, right, like who are you spending time with, right? And are those people holding you accountable, right? There's men that you could be around or brothers you could be around who will allow you to do what's detrimental to yourself. And that's not the type of brotherhood that supports or moves you in a positive direction. So I believe community is important because one, through community, you get to hear different perspectives, hear different points of views, and you get to learn from the power of other people's story. I just happen to believe we don't have to go through everything ourselves. And like you said, you're a brother who already has 4 children, right? There's some things that I naturally would be able to learn from you because of what you've done. And if I'm in the same community as you, I get access to asking those questions. Most of the greatest relationships we develop is out of community. Think about who some of your closest friends are. Rarely do you hear somebody just say, hey, this person became my friend, you know, and I just met them randomly at something, right? Usually it's we're in the same space. Maybe we're going to the same church, or we went to the same school, or we were a part of the same community. And that helped us to build the relationships, right? So communities, being a part of communities gives you access to different stories that you could learn from. But then the accountability factor comes in where you need people to hold you accountable and let you know when you're off track. Right. Like I have friends of mine, right? Like, hey, we can't be hanging out tonight, right? Or we can't be getting ready to do something here when we haven't done anything for our children.
Right.
right? Like that kind of accountability. Say, hey, yo, bro, I know, yes, you're with, you're not with your child's mother anymore, right? But you got to find a way to mend and build that relationship for the sake of your son or your daughter, right? You still want your son or your daughter to see how to respectfully engage, right? Even if there's disagreements, right? So that accountability from each other, to hold each other accountable to the goals that we want to accomplish, but to the people that we're trying to become. Who are we trying to become? And yes, you could do it on your own, but the African proverb says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, you go with a team, you go with a community, you go with people, right? And so I think we want to go far, not just fast, because there's some people moving fast, but they're going to no place fast. Right. Because, there's no real vision of how to get beyond just what you see directly in front of you. So, yeah, I believe community and accountability is essential. And I think that for brothers who don't have access to a community, it's to search out that community. Just like we Google everything else, right? And we find it. It's the same way, like, find access to the community. You and I just met, right? When we met at the Dad Gang event. That was a part of a community of fathers who are out there. And now we made that connection. And guess what? We're still connected. And now we're here on together. Again, learning from each other, holding each other accountable at the same time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So what would you tell your younger self? What advice would you have for young Sherman?
Yeah, so if I was to go back to young Sherman, I'll tell him, do exactly what you're doing. You're going to mess up a couple times and it's going to be okay. I tell them it's going to be okay, because you know what, life is about the decisions that we make. But it's our decisions to make, learn from people, right? But just know that no one has it figured out. One of the things that as a young man, I used to always think to myself, like, wow, all these people have it figured out already. And it made it a very scary process of trying anything, because you wanted to get everything right. You want it to be exactly right, because the messages you were hearing, or what you thought, is that everybody already had it together. I think if I had embraced from a young man that, like, you know what, my father doesn't have it together, my mother doesn't have it all together. There's some things that they know that doesn't make them smarter than me, but just make them more experienced than me. And because they have some experiences, there's some things that I could learn from, but I don't have to be worried about having it exactly together. Life is a process, right? And every day we should just be committed to making progress. So if I was to talk to young Sherman, I would say, hey, nobody has the answers, right? They have the experiences that they could share, but your journey is going to be your journey. And don't get so caught up, right? Stopping or waiting to do things because you feel like you don't have it aligned. I think up to this day, as a grown man, right? Like, even now, I'm 38 years old, and there's still things that I struggle with moving on, because I'm like, I gotta have it together. But that's because young Sherman was always on the don't move until it's set. Don't do it until it's it's completely aligned. And my first breaking out of that was when I made the move to quit work teaching at the college to say, let me go into AIMHigh full time. But some of those decisions could have been made before, and I don't regret any of it. I just recognize that young Sherman, I hope he could understand, if I was talking to him, like, oh, bro, everybody don't have it together, and you'll figure it out on the way. Just go with faith, go with courage, and just know that you're going to end up wherever you are destined to be. Just try to make the best decisions you could make with the information that you have.
Man, and that's why I like to ask this question, because what it does for the viewer is to not only to hear another man's perspective on self-talk, but it's simply that. So you're able to, especially when mistakes are involved, you're able to tell the traumatized young you that it's okay, and that's that we oftentimes look for others to do that for us, but when we don't have others to do that for us, we have to do it for ourselves. So yeah, that's why I always ask that question. And what would you tell your younger self? And don't you should have done, don't beat yourself up. Be kind to yourself, because it's a lot of during the process, there's a lot of unkind things that may have happened to us that keeps us in that traumatized state. So yeah, just, good self-talk.
Yeah. I often say, as you just mentioned, that it's beating up ourselves, right? Like when we talk about crime and we talk about things in society, we talk about homicide, we talk about, suicide, we talk about genocide. Often we don't talk about dreamicide, right? How many dreams we killed on our own dreams, that we strangled and we choked and we killed because, again, we didn't have our older self to talk to our younger self to say, hey, you could pursue this, right? And yes, it might be hard, but it's not impossible, right? So yeah. And when we beat up ourselves too much, a lot of times that's what results, right? It might not be the suicide, but it might be the dreamicide. And that dream that ends up dying because we beat up ourselves so much over what I could have done, should have done. I could have done this better. I should have done this first. It's like, look, you didn't do it. And spending time in regret does nothing, right? It was a gentleman, they did a study. They were looking at, they were talking to some elderly Americans, right? All over the age of 65. They interviewed it was 2,000 of them. And when they asked them what was their biggest sort of, regret in life, they said all the time they spent on worrying about things that they couldn't control. That was their biggest regret, worrying about things that they couldn't control. And the worry stopped them from doing so many things. And while they were worrying, they could have been working, but they never worked, and they worried, and the worry left them where they were. And now they're in their older age and they're like, man, all the time I spent worrying about things I can't control. What I could control is my action. And that's what I'm going to focus on.
Yeah, most times we worry about things in the future that may not even happen.
Yeah.
Like Les Brown once said, for years, this kid would walk home and be scared of this dog behind the fence. And one day he stood up to the dog and realized the dog had no teeth.
No teeth at all.
So yeah, man, that's always a reminder. Like, this dog ain't got no teeth, man.
Yep.
So, man, I am so energized and thankful, man, for you to stop through and bless the show. It's like I said, you very near dear to my heart. I follow everything you do, and more people, more people. I'm speaking life into this. You're gonna have a large following coming, because the message that you have, man, it's not even what you have, is your delivery and your energy that in which you present your message, your journey, and what we need to hear. You know what I'm saying? So that's coming. And once again, I thank you, brother. I thank you so much.
Yeah, man. No, definitely, man. And I wholeheartedly appreciate you, man. Even with this show, I think it means so much, right? Every time when I remember the first time when I met you, and then I heard you talking about, show thyself a man, right? Like every time I heard it, I was like, where did this brother get it from? And then I recognized that it was also spiritual too.
Yeah,
scripture. Yeah, even this part here that you talk about with the mentorship, with David, when David was speaking to Solomon, and David was about to die.
Yeah.
And he told him, like, yo, show yourself a man, like show thyself a man, and go out there with the courage. And I think that what you're doing is helping, and it's going to help men, right? But it helps everyone, right? Like to show yourself as who you are, go out there with the courage, and with the bravery, and act like who you are, because there's so much within you as well. So I thank you, man, for giving me the opportunity to be on your platform, and for spreading this message, because I know the lives that are touched by what you're doing. Again, like I said in the beginning, you wouldn't even notice it, right? You wouldn't even see it. And I like to use the example of the copper beech tree. The copper beech tree takes 150 years to reach its full bloom. Mm-hmm. So whoever plants a seed of the copper beech tree never really expects to live to see it when it flourishes to the full extent. But they plant the seed anyway. And 5 years, 10 years, 20, 30, 100 years from now, somebody's going to be passing past the tree and is going to see this beautiful tree. But somebody had to plant the seed. And you're planting the seed right now, man. So I know the seed that you're planting, people will drive by and see the beauty of it even years from now. So keep on doing your thing, brother. And anything I could do to be a part of that journey, I'm definitely down as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I definitely would love to have you aboard on anything I'm doing. Likewise, myself, man. Once this thing get rolling, we could do collab, whatever it takes, man, for the mission. So
yes.
Speaking of mission, what's next for Brother Sherman, man?
Yeah. So right now, we're doing some expansion of AIMHigh into going into Jamaica. We're going down there in June. We were actually supposed to start it last year. We end up not doing it because the co-founder of AIMHigh, who started off with me, his name is Dr. Ray. He's from Jamaica. And one of the things that we said once we started it in America is that we have to bring it back to where we're from, right? We started it in Virgin Islands last summer, and now we're going to be going into Jamaica now. So really, that's where the expansion is, into the Caribbean. But beyond that, we're doing a lot with a lot of schools now, and we're at the stage now where we're looking at journeying out beyond New York City in terms of the school districts that we work with. So, we're looking into, a couple other states, other cities as well to be able to expand. So it's a plan in progress, in formation, but really right now we're spending a lot of time team building the right team, people with the same heart, the same passion, the same fire to be able to go out there and expand it, and that's what it is from a business perspective. And then beyond that, on the home front, my wife and I have been talking a lot, and we just want to focus a lot more on what we develop internally, right? So your home is your first ministry, right? Yep. Making sure you do it at home, and then it'll make it easier to expand out there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Where can we find you? Where can we follow you?
Yes. So you can follow me any place, Sherman Browne. That's Brown with the E at the end. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me, you have YouTube channel, Facebook, TikTok as well. In addition to that, you could go to my website. If you want to find everything about me, you go to Sherman Browne, Brown with the E at the end.com. And when you go there, you see everything that we're doing with AIMHigh, with the schools that we're working with, but also the online courses that we provide as well. We provide courses around, finances. We provide courses on business, a number of different courses, personal mastery, personal development, all with the mission of helping you to keep your AIM ambition, inspiration, and motivation high.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh my God. I feel like a mega fan right now. Yeah. Got the opportunity to sit with the good brother. And once again, thank you for, coming on and giving us some wisdom. And yeah, man. So this is Amiri Israel once again at Show Thyself a Man. Thank you all for tuning in. And I salute you, dear brother. Thank you once again for gracing my screen.
Blessings. Thank you.
All right, dear brother. I'll speak to you soon.
All right, man.
All right.